She knew she shouldn't have come. The moment she saw the name on the invitation, her heart paused for a brief second, not because she was afraid, but because she knew exactly what was waiting behind those doors, a past she had spent 10 years trying to escape. And yet, tonight, she walked in anyway. The ballroom shimmered under crystal chandeliers, soft music drifting through the elegant space where every smile seemed measured by status, and every handshake carried intention. Lena Carter stood at the entrance just a second longer than usual. No one noticed, except Ethan. His hand rested gently on her back, just enough to remind her that she was not alone anymore. "Are you okay?" he asked in a low, steady voice, the same calm tone he always carried. Lena didn't answer right away. Her eyes moved across the room, pausing briefly on unfamiliar faces before she gave a small nod. "Let's go." Noah tugged at her hand, his little bow tie slightly crooked. "Mom, this thing is choking me." Lena bent down to fix it, a faint smile brushing her lips. "Just a little longer, then we'll go swimming, remember?" The boy nodded immediately, his eyes lighting up. A small promise, a small world, something she never had 10 years ago. And then the crowd shifted, just for a moment, but it was enough to make everything stop. She saw the bride. A familiar posture, the way she tilted her head when she laughed, the effortless way she held her champagne glass, as if the whole room revolved around her. Lena's body stiffened before her mind could react. Olivia, her sister. 10 years, without seeing each other, and now they stood less than 10 steps apart. The glass in Lena's hand trembled slightly, no one noticed, but inside her, something was quietly breaking apart. Olivia turned, their eyes met. No greeting, no preparation, just a moment stretched far too long. The smile on the bride's face froze, then slowly faded away. Behind her, their mother went pale. Their father stepped forward instantly, an old instinct taking over as he positioned himself between them like a wall he had built long ago. "What are you doing here?" Her mother's voice cut through the air, loud enough for nearby guests to notice. A few heads turned, whispers began to rise. That familiar feeling came back, the sense of not belonging, of being seen as a mistake that needed to be erased, but only for a second, then it disappeared. Lena stood straighter. She was no longer the 21-year-old girl standing in the rain with a worn-out suitcase, no longer someone who had to explain her existence. Ethan stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "My wife is a guest. We received an invitation from the groom." The name Lena Carter began to spread through the nearby guests. A woman in a red dress leaned toward her friend and whispered. An older doctor narrowed his eyes as if recognizing something. "She's the founder of NeuroAxis." The atmosphere shifted, not loudly, but clearly. Olivia blinked, as if a part of her carefully prepared script had slipped out of her control. The groom, Daniel Hayes, walked closer, confusion written across his face. His eyes moved between Lena and Olivia. "You know her." A simple question, but enough to start breaking everything apart. Olivia opened her mouth, but no sound came out immediately, and for the first time in her life, Lena saw her sister hesitate. Noah tugged gently at her hand. "Mom, who is she?" A small question, but it echoed clearly in the room. Lena looked down at her son, then at the woman in white in front of her, a piece of her past, a piece of what used to be called family. She smiled softly. "Just someone I used to know." And somehow, that quiet sentence landed heavier than anything else anyone could have said. Some memories never truly disappear. They simply lie still, waiting for the exact moment to return. As the music continues to echo through the wedding hall, Lena stands quietly, her expression calm, composed, but deep inside, an old door has been opened. 10 years ago, the rain that day was not heavy, but it was enough to make everything feel colder. Lena stood in front of the house, her hand gripping the handle of her suitcase so tightly her knuckles turned white. The suitcase was small, holding only a few clothes, a few books, and a belief that had just been crushed. "You have no right to come back if you chose to leave." Her father's voice came from behind the closed door. Not angry, not loud, just cold. like a sentence that had already been decided. Lena did not cry at that moment. She simply stood there, in the rain, as if standing long enough might make someone open the door, might make someone say it was all a misunderstanding. No one opened it. Inside, Olivia was preparing for her spring break trip, a trip the family called a deserving opportunity, an opportunity paid for with Lena's tuition. She found out that same morning, when her school account was empty, no warning, no explanation, just a number that dropped to zero. Lena remembered that feeling clearly. It was not shock, it was emptiness, as if someone had erased her entire life plan with a single click. She asked. Her mother avoided her eyes. Her father sighed as if explaining something obvious. Your sister needs this opportunity more. You are not suited for a high-pressure academic environment. One sentence. Soft, but enough to destroy everything. Olivia said nothing. She just stood there in silence, but in her eyes, there was no resistance, no guilt, only acceptance, as if it was right, as if Lena truly did not deserve it. That night, Lena packed her things. No one stopped her. No one asked where she would go. The door closed behind her, and it never opened again. The next day, Lena slept on Maya's couch. 3 months later, she was working 3 jobs, mornings at a cafe, where she learned how to smile at people who would never remember her name. Evenings at a hospital reception desk, where she saw exhausted faces and realized she was not the only one trying to survive. Weekends at a call center, her voice repeating scripted answers over and over again. Some days, she slept less than 3 hours. Some nights, she collapsed over her books, the lights still on, the pages still open. There was a time she almost gave up. It was a cold morning when she received an email from school. The tuition deadline had passed. If she did not pay within a week, her enrollment would be canceled. Lena sat on the back steps of the cafe, her hands trembling as she read each line. Maya sat beside her. She did not ask many questions. She simply handed her a cup of warm water. You've come this far, Maya said softly. Don't stop because of them. A simple sentence. But it was enough to keep Lena going, she continued. One day at a time. One step at a time. No one cheered. No one believed in her. But she kept going. Back to the present. The laughter in the wedding hall grows louder. Lena blinks once, as if waking up from a long dream. Everything around her remains the same. But she is no longer the person she was 10 years ago. No longer the girl standing in the rain, waiting for a door to open. Now she is the one who built her own door, and tonight she did not come to ask for permission to enter. She came because she already had a world of her own, one they could never touch. No one noticed the exact moment everything began to change. There was no explosion, no announcement, just a shift in the air, the kind that reveals itself through lingering glances that last a little longer than they should. Lena stood in the middle of the ballroom, her dress simple yet elegant, perfectly fitted but not designed to compete with the glittering gowns around her. She did not need to. There was something else about her, something that could not be bought. Confidence. Across the room, Olivia was laughing. A perfect smile, carefully practiced, controlled, refined. We always put patience first, she said gently, her tone polished just enough to impress. I manage our family clinic, and we've grown significantly over the past few years. The group of doctors around her nodded politely. No one challenged her. Not yet. Until someone did. Where did you study? An older man with silver hair asked, his voice calm but sharp. Olivia blinked once. Harvard, she answered without hesitation. Smooth. Too smooth. From across the room, Lena heard it. And she said nothing. She simply took a quiet sip of champagne. Beside her, Ethan tilted his head slightly. Are you going to— No, Lena interrupted softly. Not yet. She did not come here to destroy anyone. The truth did not need her help. It had a way of finding its own voice. A woman in a gray suit approached Lena, her eyes lighting up as she glanced at the small name card in Lena's hand. "Excuse me, are you Lena Carter?" Lena turned, offering a polite smile. "Yes." The woman could barely hide her excitement. "I saw your presentation last month. The neuroaxis system is remarkable. Our hospital is considering implementing it." It was not said loudly, but it was heard. Another doctor turned toward them. "You're the one who developed the AI post-surgical monitoring system." "Yes," Lena replied calmly. "We just reviewed the data. The complication rates dropped significantly." The energy in the room shifted. Subtly, but unmistakably, the looks people gave her were no longer curious. They were respectful. Across the room, Olivia was still speaking, but her voice had slowed. "We are also researching improvements in similar areas," she continued, but her eyes no longer held the same confidence. The silver-haired man frowned slightly. "Really? Because I recall Harvard discontinued that program a few years ago." A brief silence followed. Very brief, but enough to tilt the balance. Olivia laughed lightly. "Well, it depends on the professor. Some still." Her sentence trailed off, unfinished. Daniel stood beside her, his arm still resting at her waist, but the certainty behind that gesture had begun to fade. He looked at Olivia, then at Lena. It was a different look now, no longer polite, analytical. Noah tugged gently at Lena's hand. "Mom, people are looking at you." Lena knelt slightly, brushing his hair back. "It's okay." But she knew, the moment had arrived. She did not need to explain who she was. Others were already doing it for her. A younger doctor stepped forward. "Excuse me, may I have your business card? We've been developing something similar, but..." He paused, offering a small smile. "I suppose we don't need to anymore." Lena reached into her clutch and handed him a card. Simple, clean, no unnecessary detail. Just her name. And her company. Neuroaxis. The man studied it closely, then nodded, as if confirming something important. Across the room, Olivia had gone quiet. The smile was still on her lips, but her eyes had changed. For the first time that evening, she was no longer the center of attention, not because anyone took it from her, but because someone else simply stood there and was enough. Daniel took a small step toward Lena. No one noticed, except Olivia. And in that moment, she understood. Her position was no longer secure. And Lena? She remained exactly where she was. No display, no competition, no need to prove anything. She simply existed. And somehow, that was enough to change everything. The truth never arrives loudly. It comes slowly, piece by piece, until suddenly it can no longer be stopped. Daniel said nothing for the next few minutes. He stood in the middle of the crowded room, but his attention was no longer there. His gaze shifted to Lena, then back to Olivia, like a doctor reviewing a diagnosis and realizing he had missed the most critical detail. "Did you really go to Harvard?" he asked. Not loud, but clear enough. Olivia froze. 1 second. 2 seconds. The smile was still on her lips, but it no longer felt natural. "What do you mean?" she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Daniel did not answer right away. He looked toward the silver-haired man who had asked the earlier question. "He said that program was discontinued a long time ago." The atmosphere began to shift. Conversations around them slowed. Eyes turned toward the couple. No one spoke, but everyone was listening. Olivia let out a light laugh, slightly higher than before. "Maybe the information is different." "Harvard does not have different information," the man replied, his voice firm, without emotion. 1 sentence, and everything was cut clean. Lena stood a few steps away. She did not intervene. She did not need to. The truth was already doing its work. Daniel turned back to Olivia, this time looking longer, more carefully, as if searching for a different version of the woman standing in front of him. "Then, where are your records?" he asked. A simple question, but one without a simple answer. Olivia blinked, tightening her grip on the champagne glass. What are you doing? This is our wedding. I am just asking, Daniel said, his voice lowering, because I could not find any record of you in the alumni database. A silence followed, this time, longer. Across the room, their mother began walking toward them, faster than before, their father just behind her, his expression tense. Daniel, she interrupted, perhaps we should. Did you know about this? Daniel cut in. The question shifted. It was no longer between two people. Now it involved the entire family. Their mother paused for a brief moment, then smiled. She has always been humble. She does not like to talk about her achievements. A perfect answer. Too perfect. Daniel did not smile. He turned toward Lena. He said nothing, but his eyes asked everything. And Lena understood. She took a step forward. Slow. Unobtrusive. Yet every gaze followed her. Do you want the truth? She asked. Her voice was not raised, but it was clear. Daniel gave a small nod. Lena looked at Olivia. No anger, no satisfaction. Just calm. She never went to Harvard. One sentence. Short. Final. No explanation needed. But enough. Olivia took a sharp breath. What are you doing? Her voice broke. Did you come here just to ruin everything? No, Lena replied. Just one word, but certain. I am not doing anything. She paused for a moment, then continued. I am just not lying. The words fell heavily into the room. No one spoke. Daniel stepped back, just slightly, very slightly, but Olivia saw it. And that was what truly frightened her. Daniel, you have to believe me, she rushed, her voice tight. That does not matter. I am still me. But it was not enough. Not now. Not when everything was beginning to unravel. The silver-haired man spoke again. If her academic history is not true, then what about the rest of her records? That question opened another door, a more dangerous one. Lena's father stepped forward. This has gone too far. Has it? Lena turned to him, meeting his eyes directly for the first time. She was no longer the daughter he once dismissed. Her gaze did not waver. Or is this exactly where it should begin? No one answered. But in that silence, something became clear. The story was no longer under their control. On the other side of the room, Noah held Ethan's hand, watching everything with eyes that did not yet fully understand. Dad, are they fighting? He asked softly. Ethan looked down at his son, then back at Lena. He did not answer immediately. He simply tightened his grip on the boy's hand. Because he knew, some moments could not be explained simply. At the center of the room, Olivia stood there, still in her perfect white dress. But everything around her was slowly collapsing. Not loudly, not dramatically, just beyond saving. Not every ending needs an explosion. Sometimes, real power lies in doing nothing at all. The room was still loud, but its center had shifted. It was no longer the bride in the white dress. It was a silence, a space where every eye was waiting to see what would happen next. Lena stood there, not stepping forward, not stepping back, simply standing. And that stillness made it impossible for anyone to look away. Her father was the first to break the silence. That's enough, he said, his voice low, trying to stay controlled. Why are you here? To ruin your sister's wedding. A familiar question, a familiar way of shifting the blame. Lena looked at him, and this time she did not look away. I am not doing anything, she replied. Her voice was not raised, but it was clear. I am just standing here. Her mother stepped in, forcing a polite smile toward the guests around them. She's always like this, always needing attention, always jealous of her sister. A few expressions wavered. A few people almost believed it. Old stories, repeated long enough, always begin to sound true. But not tonight. Ethan took a step forward, not rushed, not dramatic, but enough for everyone to notice. Interesting, he said calmly. Someone who worked 3 jobs to pay for her own education is being called attention-seeking. The shift was immediate. A doctor nearby turned. 3 jobs. Ethan did not look at them. He looked directly at Lena's parents. Mornings at a cafe, evenings at a hospital, weekends at a call center, while her tuition money was given to someone else. No one spoke, but this time, no one turned away. Olivia stood there in silence. No denial, no defense. And that silence said everything. Noah tugged gently at Lena's hand. "Mom, are they your family?" A simple question, but it cut deeper than any accusation. The room held its breath. Lena looked down at her son, her eyes softening. "Not exactly," she said quietly. A brief pause. Then she continued. "They are relatives." She straightened again, her gaze returning to the people in front of her. "Family are the ones who stay." It was not loud, but it carried far. Her father stepped closer, his voice dropping. "Who do you think you are, standing here saying those things?" A question that once made her silent, that once made her doubt herself, but not anymore. Lena looked at him. No anger, no challenge, just the absence of fear. "I am the person you threw out of your house," she said. Short, clear, and the one who rebuilt her life on her own. No one interrupted. No one laughed. No one argued. Because no one could. Olivia stepped forward, and for the first time that evening, her voice was no longer controlled. "What do you want?" she asked. "You already have everything, why come back here?" A desperate question. Lena looked at her sister for a long moment, as if seeing a version of herself that had taken a different path. "I do not want anything," she said. Simple, honest. "I am just not afraid anymore." And that sentence ended everything. No more words were needed. No more proof was required. Ethan's hand rested on her back. Noah's hand held hers. 2 anchors, 2 things she had built herself. "Let's go," Ethan said softly. Lena nodded. She did not look back immediately. She walked, slowly, not rushing, not escaping, just leaving. Behind her, no one stopped her. No one called her name. No one had that right anymore. As they stepped out of the hall, the music resumed. Everything returned to how it was. But not really. Because once certain truths are spoken, nothing ever goes back to the same. Noah looked up at her, eyes bright. "Can we go swimming now?" Lena smiled, this time truly light. "Yes," she said. And for the first time that evening, she felt free. Not every ending happens in a single moment. Some endings arrive more slowly, more quietly, but they cut much deeper. 3 months after the wedding, Lena stood by the window in her office, looking down at the stream of traffic below. The city kept moving, as if nothing had happened. But some things had changed. The story of the Carter family clinic did not explode across major headlines. There were no dramatic breaking news clips, no viral videos, just reports, investigations, numbers, files reopened after years of being buried. Daniel was the one who started it. Not out of anger, but because he needed the truth. And once he found it, he could not go back. Olivia had never gone to Harvard. She had never managed any system. She was only a receptionist placed into a role she was never qualified for. And their parents, invoices, payments, services that never existed. Everything began to connect, piece by piece, like a picture no one had wanted to look at long enough to understand. The clinic was suspended. There were no handcuffs, no dramatic scenes, just closure. A sign taken down, a name disappearing. Daniel left soon after. No confrontation, no accusations, just a clear decision. He could not build a life on something that was not real. Lena knew all of it. Not because she followed it, but because the information found its way to her. And still, she did nothing. She did not call. She did not interfere. She did not take revenge. A part of her had wanted to. Just one call, one confirmation, and everything could have collapsed faster. But she remembered something it had taken her 10 years to learn. Not every victory needs to be proven. One afternoon, as sunlight slanted across the glass walls of her office, Her assistant knocked. "Someone is here to see you." Lena looked up. "Daniel Hayes." She paused for a second, then nodded. "Send him in." Daniel walked in, no longer carrying the same confidence he had at the wedding. His shirt slightly wrinkled, his eyes tired, but clearer. "Thank you for seeing me," he said. Lena gestured for him to sit. Neither of them spoke at first. The silence stretched, but it was not uncomfortable. "You already know everything, don't you?" Daniel asked. Lena nodded slightly. "Most of it." He let out a quiet laugh, not amused. "Then I will not waste time." He looked directly at her. "I submitted everything I found to the investigators, a decision that could not be undone." Lena was not surprised. "You did the right thing," she said. Daniel exhaled slowly, as if he needed to hear that. "I have thought a lot about that night," he continued, "about the way you stood there, not trying to prove anything, not trying to destroy anyone, just telling the truth." He paused. "Not everyone can do that." Lena did not respond. She simply listened. "Will you be involved in this?" Daniel asked. "Your testimony could change a lot." The question hung between them, heavy, real, unavoidable. Lena turned to look at the city outside the window. A moment of silence. Then she spoke. "No." Just one word, but enough. Daniel did not argue. He nodded, as if he had expected it. "I understand." He stood up, pausing for a moment before leaving. "You have already won," he said. Lena looked at him, her gaze calm. "No," she replied. "I just left the game a long time ago." Daniel walked out, the door closing softly behind him. Lena stood still for a moment. Then her phone vibrated. A message from Ethan. "Pick up Noah early. Want to go to the zoo." A small smile appeared on her lips. A different world, not loud, not complicated, but real. She picked up her bag and left the office, carrying no past, no resentment, only what she had built with her own hands. And ahead, there was nothing left that anyone could take from her. If you have ever had to walk away from a place that was supposed to be your family, would you go back, or would you keep moving forward? Share your story. And if you believe peace is the greatest victory, stay and follow for more stories like this. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Have you ever had to walk away to protect your peace? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might help someone else feel less alone. And if you believe that real strength comes from rising, not revenge, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more powerful emotional storytelling. Stay with us for more stories that remind you of who you truly are.